What's up, everyone? I'm Dewey from Phantom Whispers, and today I'm gonna tell you about the night I almost vanished at Miami International Airport. November 2019, I was 26, working as a software consultant, constantly flying between client sites, flying Seattle to Atlanta, but my connection got delayed, stuck with a 4-hour layover in Miami. Landing at 11 p.m., next flight at 6 a.m. Standard overnight airport crash for me. Miami Airport at midnight hits different. It's like a ghost town. Empty, echoing, just exhausted travelers trying to sleep on those brutal airport chairs. I posted up near gate D12 with my usual overnight kit. Around 2 a.m., I noticed this maintenance guy in navy blue with the airport logo, official ID badge. Seemed legit, but something was off. Dude kept circling back to my area, emptying trash cans that weren't even full, wiping down clean seats, checking outlets that were working fine. And he kept glancing at me when he thought I wasn't looking. I moved to gate D8 where other passengers were sleeping. 20 minutes later, boom, he shows up with a clipboard. "Excuse me, sir. We've had reports of outlets sparking in this section. For safety reasons, I need you to move to gate D15 while we check the electrical." Sounded reasonable, but here's the thing. I was the only person he approached. Everyone else was still sleeping, undisturbed. Gate D15 was isolated at the far end of an empty wing. I was completely alone. He showed up minutes later without his cart, just carrying a small toolkit and that clipboard. His whole vibe had shifted. Less apologetic, way more commanding. "Flying solo tonight? Business or personal?" Started asking about my company, who was expecting me in Atlanta, what time my morning flight was. Personal questions disguised as small talk about electrical issues. Then I caught it. His ID badge said guest services, but he'd been doing maintenance work. Worse, the photo looked nothing like him. Different hair, different face structure, like it belonged to someone else entirely. I started paying closer attention. His pants were a slightly different shade of blue than standard airport uniforms. His toolkit had zip ties, duct tape, and a small bottle of something that definitely wasn't cleaning solution. 3:47 a.m. The terminal was dead quiet except for distant HVAC humming. "You know what?" he said, setting down his toolkit. "This electrical issue is more serious than we thought. I need you to come with me to a service area where you'll be safe while we work on it." Every alarm bell in my head went off. Legitimate airport employees don't escort passengers to service areas alone at 4 a.m. I stood up and said I'd wait at a different gate. "Actually," he stepped between me and the main concourse, blocking my path. "Airport safety regulations require passengers to follow employee instructions during emergency maintenance." His tone completely changed. Gone was the apologetic maintenance worker, replaced by someone expecting total compliance. "I need to hit the restroom first." I pointed toward facilities near gate D13. He hesitated but couldn't refuse without dropping his helpful act entirely. "Make it quick. Safety protocols don't wait." I wasn't there to use the bathroom. Right by the entrance was exactly what I needed. A red emergency call button. "Press for immediate security response." I slammed my palm against it. Heard a faint alarm. My phone buzzed immediately. "Emergency alert received from your location. Security responding. Stay where you are." When I came out, he was gone. Toolkit, clipboard, cleaning cart, everything vanished. Only evidence was a small puddle of something that definitely wasn't water where he'd been standing. Airport security arrived in 3 minutes. They took my statement seriously, which told me this wasn't their first rodeo with incidents like this. Security footage revealed he wasn't an airport employee at all. This was an organized operation targeting solo travelers during overnight layovers, using stolen uniforms and fake badges to access secure areas. Their method: isolate vulnerable passengers under safety pretenses, escort them to service areas where they could be robbed, assaulted, or worse. That substance he left behind tested positive for a powerful sedative that absorbs through skin contact. His plan was to get me alone, drug me with that chemical, and I would have simply disappeared into the maze of restricted areas. Footage showed he'd been watching me for over 2 hours, learning my patterns. Even scarier, I wasn't his first attempt that night. Earlier footage showed him approaching 2 other solo travelers who moved away before he could execute his routine. Always verify employee credentials. Ask to see their supervisor or call airport information yourself. Real employees have nothing to hide. Stay in well-lit, populated areas during layovers, even if it means sleeping in uncomfortable chairs. Isolated gates become danger zones without witnesses. Trust your gut when someone's behavior doesn't match their supposed role. Predators pose as helpful officials to gain compliance. Know where emergency alert systems are and don't hesitate to use them. Those panic buttons exist for situations where you can't wait for help to find you. If I hadn't trusted my instincts about that mismatched ID badge and used that emergency system, I would have disappeared into Miami International's restricted areas and never made my morning flight. The scariest part isn't what happened. It's how perfectly he disguised himself as a helpful airport employee. That maintenance worker offering to relocate you for safety might be relocating you for very different reasons. Have you experienced anything similar while traveling? What would you have done? Drop your thoughts below. I was 27, just finished a business trip in New York, and landed at Miami International around 11:30 p.m. on a Thursday. Dead tired, had an early morning meeting, and all I wanted was to get to my South Beach hotel fast. But the taxi line? Absolutely insane. Multiple delayed flights had just landed, and I'm looking at maybe an hour wait just to get a cab. That's when I spotted this guy near the taxi stand holding a sign. Hotel shuttle service, downtown South Beach. White polo with an embroidered logo, khaki pants, looked totally professional. He had a small crowd of tired passengers around him, all asking about availability. Next shuttle leaves in 5 minutes, he announced. $20 per person to any South Beach or downtown hotel. Way faster than waiting for taxis tonight. Look, airport shuttles are everywhere at major airports like Miami. $20 seemed reasonable, and honestly, I was exhausted and just wanted to get out of there. The other passengers looked legit too. Business travelers, tourists, people making the same calculation I was. Sometimes unofficial shuttles are just more efficient than the official airport services, right? I walked up and told him my hotel name. He checked his clipboard and nodded. Perfect. We go right past there. You'll be the third stop. The shuttle was parked in what looked like a designated pickup area just outside the terminal. White 15-passenger van with Miami Airport Express painted on the side in blue letters. Nothing fancy, but exactly what you'd expect for this kind of service. As we loaded our luggage, I counted 7 passengers total. Me, a German couple, 2 business travelers, and a family with teenage kids. The driver introduced himself as Roberto and explained the route. South Beach stops first, then downtown hotels. Everything seemed normal and professional. For the first 15 minutes, everything was exactly what you'd expect. Roberto made typical driver small talk, asked about our flights, mentioned Miami weather and traffic. We took the highway toward the beach and I could see the familiar Miami skyline in the distance. Standard shuttle ride, nothing unusual. But then Roberto announced we needed a detour. There's been an accident on the main route to South Beach, he said. I'm gonna take the back way through the port area. Might add 10 minutes, but it's better than sitting in traffic for an hour. The German couple seemed concerned and asked to see the route on GPS, but Roberto said passengers couldn't access his navigation system. "Don't worry," he said. "I've been doing airport runs for 8 years. I know every shortcut in Miami." As we drove further from the main roads, things started feeling off. This port area looked more like an industrial zone with warehouses and shipping containers. When I tried to track our location on my phone, I had no cellular signal. That's weird for Miami, right? Major metropolitan area, you shouldn't lose signal like that. One of the business travelers asked about arrival time, and Roberto's answer was super vague. "Depends on traffic ahead," he said, but we hadn't seen any traffic at all on these empty industrial roads. That's when I started really looking at the van's interior. The Miami Airport Express branding looked professional from outside, but inside? No official transportation license displayed, no rate card, no safety information that legitimate shuttle services are required to post. "Roberto," the family's father called out, "my phone's GPS shows we're heading away from the beach. You sure this is the right direction?" "GPS doesn't work well in this area," Roberto replied, but his tone had completely changed from friendly to dismissive. "Too many tall buildings interfere with the signal." But we weren't near tall buildings. We were surrounded by low warehouses and empty lots. When I looked out the back window, I could see Miami's downtown lights getting smaller behind us, not closer. We were definitely going the wrong way. The German woman started speaking urgently to her husband in German, clearly freaking out about our direction. Roberto caught this in his rearview mirror and told everyone to stay calm and trust the process. That phrase, "trust the process," sent chills down my spine. Shuttle drivers don't say that. That's what someone says when they're trying to maintain control over people they're manipulating. I started paying closer attention to Roberto's behavior. He kept checking his watch and glancing at his phone, like he was coordinating with someone or waiting for a specific time. When one of the business travelers asked to be dropped off at the next intersection to catch a taxi, Roberto firmly refused. "Can't do that," he said. "Insurance doesn't allow mid-route passenger exits. Everyone has to stay until we reach the designated stops." That made no sense. Shuttle services accommodate passenger requests all the time, and there's no insurance regulation preventing someone from getting out if they want to. This was complete BS. The van turned into what looked like a shipping yard surrounded by chain-link fencing. No hotels, no businesses, just rows of containers and industrial equipment. Roberto drove slowly, like he was looking for something specific. "Folks, we need to make a quick stop here," Roberto announced. "Gotta pick up another driver who'll help with the rest of the route." Every alarm bell in my head was going off. This wasn't a detour. This was deliberate isolation of 7 passengers in a location where no one would hear or see what happened next. I looked around at the other passengers and could see the same realization hitting everyone. The German couple was whispering urgently. The family's parents were moving closer to their kids, and the business travelers were checking their phones for signal. Then I remembered something from a travel safety seminar. In group situations with potential predators, the best strategy is often to make noise and break the illusion of control that the perpetrator is trying to maintain. "Roberto," I said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, "I need you to turn around right now and take us back to the main road. This is not an authorized shuttle route, and we all know it." "Sir, please stay calm," Roberto replied, but I could see his hands tightening on the steering wheel. "Everyone check your phones," I continued, speaking to the other passengers. "Does anyone have signal? Because legitimate shuttle routes don't go through areas with no cell coverage." The family's father immediately understood. "You're right. Roberto, we want to go back to the airport immediately." Roberto stopped the van. "That's not possible," he said, and now his voice had completely changed. Gone was the friendly driver persona, replaced by someone who expected total compliance. "Actually, it is possible. said one of the business travelers, moving toward the van's sliding door. "And we're getting out right here." But Roberto had already engaged the van's child locks. The doors wouldn't open from the inside. We were trapped. That's when I did something that probably saved all our lives. I pulled out my phone and started what looked like a live stream on social media, speaking clearly into the camera. "We are 7 passengers in a fake airport shuttle in Miami. The driver has locked us in and driven us to an isolated industrial area. If you're watching this, please call 911 immediately." Even though I had no signal to actually broadcast, Roberto didn't know that. He saw me holding up the phone and speaking to what he thought was a live audience. "Turn that off!" he shouted, twisting around in his seat. "Miami police, we are in a white van in an industrial area near the port," I continued, speaking to my phone. "License plate." I read off the number visible on the van's registration. Roberto immediately unlocked the doors and told everyone to get out. "This is your stop," he said, like he'd always planned to drop us off in an empty shipping yard at midnight. The moment those doors opened, the German man sprinted toward the road while pulling out his phone. As soon as he got signal, he called 911. The rest of us stayed together near the fence line, watching Roberto's van speed away into the maze of containers. Police arrived within 10 minutes. When they investigated, they discovered Roberto wasn't operating a legitimate shuttle service at all. He was part of an organized crime ring that targeted tired, vulnerable passengers at airports, then robbed them in isolated locations. Sometimes the crimes escalated beyond robbery, depending on the victims. The Miami Airport Express van was unregistered, uninsured, and Roberto had a history of assault and kidnapping charges. That shipping yard where he'd taken us was a known location for criminal activity, far from any surveillance cameras or potential witnesses. Always use only official airport transportation or verified rideshare services, even if unofficial options seem faster or cheaper. Legitimate services have tracking, licensing, and accountability that criminals can't replicate completely. Always stay alert to route changes and trust your instincts when drivers deviate significantly from expected paths. Detours and shortcuts are the most common excuses predators use to isolate victims. Always keep your phone visible and be prepared to document suspicious situations, even if you can't actually broadcast. The threat of exposure is often enough to make criminals abort their plans. Always stick together with other passengers when something feels wrong. There's safety in numbers and shared awareness.